let me start with you. Where do you stand on this Ronaldo matter of Cristiano Ronaldo being disrespectful? Ten Hag is doing the right thing by punishing him. He's dropped him from the squad. He sent him to the reserves. Is that not an overkill?
I think he's been disrespecting the club since the summer, in my opinion. And I've said this before. I don't think he's behaved professionally. And we know Ronaldo to be a very professional player. So this is quite out of character. We know he's a bit of a diva when it comes to some things. You see him sometimes throwing some mini tantrums on the pitch, but he wants to win. He's not the type of guy who doesn't show up for work. He's lazy. You won't use those things. Yeah. But from the way he behaved in trying to leave the club, there was no preseason. Then he did.
Wasn't that his way of protesting a lack of ambition?
Well, that's my point. You go, if you do that, it's unprofessional, and that's my point. So it started from the summer. This is why I want to leave the circus around Man U in the summer because of the way he behaved. Whatever it is, it was unprofessional, but in the end he came back. Whatever it is. Then halftime against Rayo Vallecano, he leaves the stadium before the game ends. That was, you can say, oh, it's just a friendly, it's just preseason stuff. It's wrong. It's not done, and we know it's not done. So that's even the first strike. So what we are hearing, and this is the story, that he refused to come on. Second strike, third strike, leaving the stadium again. And remember what happened to Carlos Tevez when he refused to come on for Man City all those years ago? He didn't play for 6 months. Yep. So I'm not saying that Ronaldo shouldn't be upset. I understand you want to play. Everybody wants to play. You think you are one of the best players to ever play football. You can impact the team, all that kind of stuff, whatever the case is. Fine. Your emotional state and that kind of stuff, there still should be some professionalism. And the way I put it, and I said this earlier before we're off air, if you're in your office and your boss tells you to do something and you start screaming at them, you don't want to do, you kind of get into it with them and you refuse to do it. That's a problem. You can get sacked for that. Let's say they don't sack you, then you also storm out of the office. You won't have an office to come back to the next day. You get what I'm saying? So the way he's behaved, there has to be consequences. I don't know how long he'll be punished for, but there has to be consequences. Whether Erik ten Hag decides to freeze him out for the rest of the season until January, whatever the case, there has to be consequences. So the consequences we'll talk about the consequences and how severe the actions are later, because we're only seeing one. Because one game, out of the squad for one game, fair enough. It's just one game. Would they bring him back for the next game? That's when we'll see whether he's going too far. Because remember, we said the same thing about Aubameyang and Arteta, that there's a way to go about disciplining players. You can't be too heavy-handed with it. So despite all the stuff and all the things, I don't think he's behaved well. But how Ten Hag handles it will be very interesting. Is he going to go for, I don't want you, terminate your contract in January, go away and never come back? Or is it going to be, look, we'll punish you for this time, you learn your, to just tell you that we're not joking here? Because what we've heard about Ten Hag is he doesn't joke around with these things. He's a disciplinarian from all the reports. So he had to take a stand, because even though it's Ronaldo, and Ronaldo is someone you can even afford some leeway, you have to take a stand, because if you don't do that to Ronaldo, Rashford is going to feel like he can do it. Bruno is going to feel like he can do it. So you have to put your foot down. You have to put squad discipline. So in a way, he's also going to be a scapegoat in a way to kind of create team culture that we don't joke here. But I think the right thing is to punish him in some form. That's what's happened. Now, it remains to be seen whether Ten Hag has gone too far by, let's say, freezing mouths for 3 months or something. 3 months might be excessive, because because for me, if someone does something and you don't punish them the first time, and then they do something again, and it's like you add the punishment for the last time, you've done it wrong. You have to have put the marker down when he did it the first time, that you don't do this. Rather than you let it slide, and then when he does it again, you kind of double up the punishment. So the punishment as of now fits the crime. Maybe even if you do it for the next game or 3 games, whatever the case is. But I think after
he's been fined as well. He's been fined 2 weeks' wages. Comes up to almost £1 million.
Yeah, I think
Charlie, this world is some way.
Yeah, but you see,
I 2 weeks' wages, £1 million. Hey,
I feel like once you go past 3 games out of the squad as punishment, I'm going to say that's excessive.
That's okay.
Because, and even on the pragmatic side, you are a bit light in the forward line. So why would you freeze him out? I think 3 games, you've given him a fair punishment. You've shown that this is unacceptable. We won't stand for it. And then you bring him back into the squad. I think everyone is happy that way because from what I've been seeing, he's been a bit disrespectful and unprofessional in his dealings with the club in the last few months. You put him out of the team for 3 games, he comes back. If he's still showing attitude and stuff,
you can throw him off the bus.
Exactly. So you just
Pichichi, there are those who say that you don't treat star players like this.
Exactly.
And that you need to be different in your handling of star players from the average player. I don't know where you stand on all of that.
Well, I think that first and foremost, let's laud Ronaldo for the comments or his statement afterwards. He has clearly accepted that he was taking.
He didn't apologize. I don't think that's.
But clearly he says that emotions got the better. Yes,
he's accepted it.
He said emotions got the better of him.
So, I mean,
it's an apology.
I'm trying to understand. If I read that, if you did something to me and you said you apologize, and I read that, I didn't see an apology in it. That's just how I'm saying.
He says
it.
he hasn't
you understand
changed.
what I'm saying?
He's still the same old Ronaldo. The emotions got the better of him.
He says this happens to the best of us sometimes.
It's time to support the
more like
United and all that.
It doesn't sound like an apology to me, but that's just my thing. I feel like
for me it's an apology.
I feel like you don't even have to apologize, and once they punished you, it's okay.
No, for me it's an apology. I think that's kudos to him for apologizing. I think that this thing sometimes gets to players, as he said. And I expected these things. In the first place, this is a player who wouldn't even want to be at the club at the moment. He felt, if I'm not part of your plans, allow me to leave. And we clearly heard what Ten Hag said about Ronaldo, saying that Ronaldo is part of his plans. So all this while, we thought Ronaldo had a place in Ten Hag's mentality and his philosophy. But here we are. It's been being on the bench over and over and over. And in some instances, he's able to explain that, maybe we are down by 5 goals to nil. I don't want to bring him on because of his integrity, his all that. But I feel that, he's human. It will get to him. He wants to play. It's a World Cup here. Ronaldo wants to be in the best of form for Portugal, going into what could be his final World Cup. And how many players can take that sort of being on the bench over,
especially
over
when you are
he's
the greatest goal scorer of all time.
So sometimes we need to cut him some slack. It's not easy being Ronaldo and being on the bench for all this while for Manchester United. Look at the scenario here. He's not a player who's used to being on the bench, and I think that yes, Susu talks about the fact that they need to set an example of him. But I feel that yes, they shouldn't drag this. After the Chelsea game, he needs to be back in the team ASAP. He has promised to work hard for the team, and Ten Hag should be able to let this go. It's Ronaldo. He should be treated differently.
Hold on. Dude,
he's Ronaldo.
He's
Ronaldo. He's Ronaldo. He should be treated. See, if maybe Martial had done this, fine.
Okay.
It's Ronaldo. You don't treat Ronaldo like the way you treat Martial.
Points well made. Points well made.
I sat in this very chair. And I told you that buy was a purely commercial buy. There was no football reasons necessitating that particular buy. And you see, there's nothing wrong with doing commercial buys in football. I mean, it raises momentum, it gets the fan, you rally the fans together and all of that. But we're saying that for purely footballing reasons at the time, that Ronaldo buy wasn't necessary. Coach granting, hey. No problem. Now we are here. See, the truth of the matter is that no single player, individual, is bigger than the football club.
He's not said it's bigger than Manchester United.
Pichichi.
No, he's not said it's bigger than Manchester United.
And now let him finish his point.
No single footballer is bigger than the football club. And a club as huge as United, it was grossly disrespectful. I mean, especially knowing the challenges the club has been through and all that they were trying to do to get back on in shape, let me say. And after a very hard-fought victory, very impressive win, the least you could do was to be happy for the young boys who fought it out. Dallo, Bruno, Rashford, Sancho, Anthony. You know, the just the perception, the thinking that a senior figure like Ronaldo is impressed with the kind of football they played on that day was just enough. I mean, it's a truth that, I mean, Neymar, all of these players, even Messi, Mbappe, pushing contract deals, do all sorts of things in the name of trying to vent their spleen with management or leadership at the club. But I see, Ronaldo should know better. At 37 years, Charlie wasn't for football. By now, Charlie, somebody is calling him uncle and things. You get where my frustration is.
You are misbehaving this evening.
You're failing to listen to me.
I'm listening to you.
If it wasn't for football, if I meet Ronaldo, I'll call him uncle. It's a statement of fact. But that is just like see, you are no single individual is bigger than the club, and that should be done. What he did was disrespectful. And for me, I'm happy about the leadership of Ten Hag. I'm not a United fan. I'm not a Ten Hag fan. But listening to him that night, where he says that hey, tonight is about a team. That is what managers do. and we'll deal with that tomorrow. I think he's come out strong, and you want to commend him on that. Let's not condone this. You're a legend, so you can do whatever. That is how anarchy starts. Everybody doing what they please.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you, my brother.
Please, Charlie. Let's be.
Let me leave the final word on this.
My senior, you side with me.
No. I
Do not try to prejudice the
I'm even going to build on this point.
Hold on.
Indiscipline starts in society. We say certain people can do certain things because there are certain people. That's how indiscipline starts in society. I'm just saying, if you draw parallels to this to our real life situation, you will realize the problem.
I can't believe this. Atta, you get the final word on this.
Oh, it's incredible how we've even allowed this to drag. And you'd have to blame the entire team. And the coach who is now trying to stamp his authority on the issue. He is the cause of all this.
You think he let this go on too long?
Too long, because initially when he decided not to come to training and he had asked the club to sell him, he came out and said he had spoken to him. He is willing to be part of the new revolution and that he is going to stay and then help the team grow. Wonderful news. After all, he was the top scorer last season and an important figure in the team. The fanfare, the furore around his coming, the Sir Alex factor, and all the goodwill that he comes with were on display. Now, two things stand out in this saga. A team that is not willing to admit publicly that this is the mayhem that is being caused outside. It started with a signing. Manchester City, through Ferran Soriano, briefed journalists in Spain first. The Barcelona-based journalists that look, the figures involved in the deal is said that they feel they wouldn't get the value for money. That is one. And then
the man's 2-week fine is £1 million.
Exactly. And that they feel that 2 weeks, even though they need a goal poacher, aside the fact that he's a short-term fix, he wouldn't help the team grow the way they would want, and that he could be a disruptive figure in the dressing room. Only for Rio Ferdinand and Co to come out and tell us that, look, it is not so. Manchester City actually wanted him, were pushing to sign him, and they called him and laid down the charm offensive on him not tainting his legacy to come and play for Manchester City. So he actually came in and we were made to believe that he had snapped Manchester City for Manchester United. When it was that Manchester City had actually pulled out of the deal because of the numbers and the value for money component. Now they've pandered over to him, see what he does to people who criticize him at post-match and pre-match and all that, led by, again, the Manchester United brigade. It's been allowed to go on unchecked. He is in Portugal attending to family issues. He will join pre-season this. Now, if this thing had been curtailed after the Rayo Vallecano game, probably we wouldn't be here. He's not been playing. The team is doing well. There were noises from the team that, look, this guy is causing trouble behind the scenes. No, everything is okay. He's acting as a real professional. That's him. So I feel that if the coach had been firm earlier, we wouldn't have gotten here. Look, let's not waste much time on this. Cristiano Ronaldo was not going to last forever. This is the last dance. He's on his way down. And nature has made it so. There isn't much he could do to stop it. But the best thing best thing he can do is to appreciate the fact that we are at a point where I need to sacrifice myself for the youngsters around me. I saw Ronaldo and Portugal against Iran and Mexico in 2006. You watch the game carefully. Figo had to trade space and some of the things he was doing in the team to make him the prima donna superstar in the team. I feel that the Figo example is the best for Ronaldo right now. Look at it. Look, my time is always almost up. I'm on borrowed time. What do I do? All right, let me make sure I'm part of the story of the heir apparent. This shouldn't be difficult for him.
When Messi is still scoring.
No, forget about that.
I think Ronaldo will always be obsessed with Messi, regardless of how people look at
That
him.
obsession might drive him to his grave.
That would be difficult for him to do now.
No, look, but that's the reality. We were told that he had a big offer from Saudi Arabia in the summer.
He should have taken it.
Right now, in mainstream Europe, nobody can afford Ronaldo and his wages.
for what they expect, what they think he'll bring. That's the key part.
And I mean,
Worst case, you get some commercial win for you. You get some jerseys.
for how long?
But you are thinking about and Collins has made a great point. Because their team is playing well, it looks even worse. It's different if they hadn't scored in that
Absolutely.
game, and he's upset having come on and the team couldn't score. Right now the team is scoring. People are playing. There's some of the players you've been insulting before. They are performing better this season. So it's like you are kind of taken away from. We should be praising like, oh, Rashford is kind of finding form. Martial is after a disastrous Luna Sevilla. We should be talking about the positives.
You're putting some bet on our side.
Look at that display in midweek. Now the narrative is him.
Yeah, that's Ronaldo.
Yeah. They should have been getting props for that impressive
And you
display.
hear United fans saying this is probably our best performance against a top 6 side in 5 years. Yeah, all sorts of superlatives. But how many people are talking about it?
Ronaldo, the center stage.